And I do have a sign-in sheet back there. If anybody wants to speak, the sign-in sheet is on the table. I need a motion to approve the previous minutes from last month.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion's approved, and I forgot roll call.
Clayton made the motion, who seconded it?
Got it.
Did you get that?
Who made the second?
Kevin,
Kevin.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, roll call.
Roll call, please.
Debbie Hines,
Here.
Kevin Bookout,
Here.
Dennis Brennan,
Here.
Cam Terry,
Here.
Tim Dixon,
Here.
Tim Henley,
Here.
Kelly Brewster, David Smith,
Here.
Clayton Pangle,
Here.
Scott Wilson.
The first item on the agenda is old business, application 127, site plan review for automobile wrecking, junk, and salvage yard, 3827 Lee Highway, applicant Jack Walls, property owner Dennis and Chastity Hockman, tax map 48, parcel 98, zone M1 light industrial. And last month, we had asked for the attorney's opinion. Jack, do you wanna go ahead?
Yes, I don't
Okay.
know if you have that in your packet or not. Is there a letter that's been provided by the attorney?
I don't think we do.
Chris, if you could provide your opinion there.
Good afternoon. So after reviewing the Loudon Municipal Code and the Loudon zoning code, I was able to conclude that this request did not fall within the prohibition on junkyards because the property is primarily used as a towing service, and the definition found in the Loudon zoning ordinance also defines a junkyard as a property used primarily for the collection, storage, and sale of junk vehicles, neither of which of those uses are contemplated on this application. And so I know a question has been raised regarding the State Junkyard Control Act of 1967. That state law contains a number of definitions that are not found in either our zoning ordinance or our city code. And therefore, it's my opinion that those definitions are not applicable to the situation presented by this application. Rather, they apply in the context of whether a proposed use of the property is subject to the permitting requirements of the state under that act. So in summary, I believe this proposed use is not prohibited by either the Loudon City Code or the Loudon zoning ordinance. But because of the property's or proximity to a residential district, the variance that is recommended by staff is required for its use.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions for Jack Walls?
So, just so I understand, at this point, this is the planning commission, we're looking at a site plan and the use itself, is is that understood, or, and then there'll be the variance discussion during the BZA, is that correct?
Staff's recommendation would be to seek approval for the use contingent upon the variance. Site plan exhibits use and the 300 feet being met to the east, to the right side of that sheet on your screen there. And then the variance request is for a waiver for the 300 feet from the rear of the property. The immediately adjacent strip is about 50 feet wide and not developable as residential, but the intent here is to look at it as it relates to the 300-foot requirement.
You want to say anything, John?
Sure. I'd like to speak as citizen Cardwell and not as member of the city council. First, I appreciate Chris doing his analysis, but I want to respectfully disagree with his opinion. Tennessee Code annotated 5420-103 defines what a junkyard is and what a automobile graveyard is. A junkyard, according to state law, is one wrecked vehicle is considered junk. And the storing or keeping of that vehicle is considered a junkyard. An automobile graveyard, it takes 10 vehicles to be an automobile graveyard. So it's two different definitions. Graveyard, junkyard, automobile graveyard. Both of them have a 1,000 foot separation from a federal highway, which is what Highway 11 is. Excuse me, I just ate an Oreo. And so it's 1,000 foot according to state law. Now, state law gives a waiver to a junkyard if it's zoned industrial, which this is. But the graveyard still says 1,000 feet. So also state law says that city ordinances can lessen state law, which I think trying to redefine what a graveyard is, or junkyard in state law, lessens what the state defines it. Also, currently still in the books, in the city of Loudon, it says no new junkyards may be established. So we have a couple of things we have to work through. One is, where do we find an appropriate place for this type of business? Because we can't zone it out of existence. The law doesn't allow us to do that. But also the commission or the BZA can waive or give variances to state laws, only city ordinances. So as a citizen, I would respectfully ask you to delay this action for further investigation.
Thank you. Chris?
Yes.
What you discovered was that 1967 law was for state permitting, correct?
That's right, and the junkyard definition found in the city code, the city code prohibition on junkyards has its own definition. I do not believe that the definition found in state code is interchangeable with the definition found in our city code. And I disagree with Citizen Cardwell on the fact that the city's definition is overruled by the state definition.
And staff recommendation was?
To approve contingent upon the variance that's presented in Board of Zoning Appeals for the 300-foot requirement.
And is that to comply with automobile wrecking? Is that the variance? That's the definition of why we're asking for variance, because it falls under the automobile wrecking.
for, automobile wrecking, junk, or salvage yard, regardless of definition, requires 300 feet.
So I'd like to bring it to this board's, or commission's attention that nowhere in the zoning code does it specify what zone an automobile wrecking can be. So I don't know if that means it can be in every zone, but by state statute, you have to have somewhere for it to live. So if we're gonna be deemed an automobile wrecking, which I don't personally agree with that, but, then if that's the case, then it's not specified in any zone at this time in your ordinance. It's not, so is it allowed or not allowed? That would be my question.
Any questions from the board?
I've got a couple of
I hope
questions.
you do.
I think Councilman Cardwell, speaking as a citizen, recognized the fact that we can't zone things out of our county. There has to be a location. The concerns I have, I haven't read that specific provision, but I'll ask this question. If the state's definition was found to be applicable, and this was included in a superseding requirement, how does their requirement off of a major highway of 1,000-foot setback apply? I'm just saying if that was the case. We have to comply with state law if a court later found that this was.
And I do not believe that it would, because there is this exception in the state law for areas zoned industrial.
Is that, I know you read it.
That's only for a junkyard. It doesn't give that exception for automobile graveyard.
Is this a graveyard or a junkyard?
I don't.
Well,
It's neither.
Either.
again, state law says graveyards are junkyards, but junkyards aren't necessarily graveyards. And so they give two different definitions. Both have the 1,000-foot requirement.
Chris, in the definition that you just got over, or you brought to us, we're talking about junkyard, graveyard, but what about a towing service?
Towing service is not defined in our code or in state law, not in this context. There is an exception for, what is it? There is an exception for, in our city zoning ordinance, for businesses engaged in the towing and storing of vehicles, wrecking, salvaging, repairing of vehicles, and any other similar operation as it relates to the private storage of junk vehicles, but it's not otherwise defined.
Any vehicles, Chasey, that are there on the property, how long do you think they would stay before they're actually moved?
I honestly don't know, because he's not started his business yet. I mean, by law, if the city of Loudon calls him to kind of remove a vehicle for whatever reason, he has to keep that vehicle. If they put a hold on it, he has to keep it till the police release the hold. If they don't put a hold on it, then whoever owns the vehicle can come and claim it. I mean, I worked for Moneymaker Record Service years ago, and that's some of the stuff that I remember. If anything's changed today, I'm not aware of it.
In regard to, we're in this part of our meeting, not the variance part, but question be applicable at either place. is there a certain number of vehicles that a towing service can have on site at one time? And if there's not stated, is there a way to establish that within the variance?
Go ahead.
It's limited here, with the site plan by the area shown, that's 100 by 100 feet. So there's limitation to that, that's inherent to that.
So, 1,000 square feet, is what you're talking about, right here. I don't have those numbers, but, I know in an acre and a half, you can park 200 cars. I don't know why that number sticks in out.
Multiple rows of, so, typical parking stall is 10 by 20 by our definition, so, I would.
So that's 10 by 20, is 200, so you're saying by that ratio, it's be 5 vehicles.
You're off by a factor of 10.
Okay, so by that is, okay, so that's 50 vehicles. Okay, that's what I was trying to get at. I didn't know that particular aspect either.
I think the city ordinance is more stringent than the state regulation, and we're talking about graveyard, junkyard, and the ultimate, by being a junkyard, you are defined in a way, and you being a graveyard, you're defined in a way, and it's for the purposes of requiring screening. So, and that goes into the number of vehicles. If you look at that, I feel like it goes into the number of vehicles you might have before you're defined as a graveyard or a junkyard, right? In our ordinance, as we're applying it and as we're presenting it to you, it is more stringent in that the concept, if you intend on storing junk vehicles, you need screening and to be 300 feet from a residential area. So I feel like ours is more stringent in the implementation of screening, and that's why I feel like we should approve it as presented.
Well, I still have a follow-up question. What's the enforcement mechanism of action taken if it doesn't comply?
As far as the state regulation, that would be done through the state organizations that's
I'm
authorized.
talking about-
Locally, it'd be us.
Okay.
It'd be our
Yeah,
responsibility.
I'm talking about just how do we take action?
Yeah, we would, I mean, that's why we're here today to take action, is that this is the use that's before us. It requires the screening and the distance of 300 feet, and we presented it to you with this site plan. And it's to approve the use in the area and to provide clarity on the distances provided from the residential area as provided by the ordinance.
So you're in agreement with the opinion stated so far?
It's very complicated, and I'm not a lawyer, so I lean on Attorney Fry.
Okay. I'm not trying, I thoroughly respect both opinions we're getting, but I also, goes back, as long as you can't see it, it's okay. I guess is the way to ask the question.
That seems to be the intent of the ordinance. That seems to be the intent, is to provide distance from residential area and provide screening for it not to be seen.
The opposite side of that is, if I was in a wreck and my vehicle had to be towed, and I had to wait on insurance to be approved, I wouldn't want to have to worry as a citizen about violating some ordinance that I'm.
Confiscate your car.
Yeah, that's part of it too. And I think everybody recognizes that we need to have a place. But anyway, I don't have any more, I'm out of questions.
A previous picture showed the 300-foot back lines. It didn't leave, there were two red lines.
Still on there.
And you pull them
It's
back
still
up.
there, and then this is the back on that right away, or easement.
Well, I thought I had previously seen red
They're
lines.
here, there's a red one, and there's a red one.
Aha, I finally see
Aha.
it. What's left for them to use if you set back 300 feet both places? Well, that's a
Another
clean
triangle.
line.
Well, this is what they've got marked for the storage yard.
So that line doesn't show up very good, but I can see it when you point it
I
out.
finally saw it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I do it.
it's not the whole site, it's just part of the site.
Part of it.
Go to self-made livestock.
What does that leave them to use? We're getting
Yeah.
squeal a lot.
Everybody else can still stay there.
Madam
Yeah,
Chairman,
everybody
Yes.
else.
based upon the recommendation of legal advice and staff, I would make a recommendation that this be approved upon their input into this meeting today.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Mears, do I have a second? Have a motion, do I have a second?
And I'm basing it upon the recommendations of
So, motion fails for lack of a second.
understand.
So now we don't need to do the variance either, do we? Okay.
Get up next month.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, application 133, rezoning request from C1 to R1, 23044 Wesley Highway, Philadelphia. Applicant, property owner Sarah Gallion, tax map 65D, Group B, parcels 15 and 16, C1 Central Business District. And this is only to be, this is not for us to approve her tonight, it's for us to send a recommendation to Philadelphia City Council.
Is that it?
Ms. Gallion? Yes. Anybody have any questions? Oh, well, let's get staff to explain it.
I'd be happy to help do that. This county is here today they've consolidated the two lots that are shown there. This is in Philadelphia. There's a small vicinity map there at the top, but I believe it's there's a small daycare right there. Kitty Care, is it? Kitty Kingdom, forgive me.
Next door?
That's next door. So they've combined these two lots. They're zoned commercially, and there's a lot of other residential along this corridor. So the request is to rezone from commercial to residential for them to add an addition to the house. And that would be required. For that addition, they need the residential zone.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I like residential. I wish you well.
I like the size of the garage.
It's not cheap, just work And staff recommendation is to recommend to Philadelphia City Council for approval without conditions.
Yes, ma'am.
Do I have a motion for any of this?
I'll make a motion.
A second.
I have a motion from Mr. Dixon, and a second from Mr. Pangle. All in favor to recommend this to Philadelphia City Council, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item is application 138, final plat, Tennessee National, Plot 13B, lots 8, 9, and 10. Applicant is John Anderson, property owner, Dieter and Jennifer Bergner, tax map 31F, Group A, parcel 8, 9, and 10, Land Development District. Who's here to speak on that?
This is the applicant here, Mr. Anderson.
Okay,
This is not an alteration to any of the lots configured in Cincinnati National, rather just a combination of these lots. And since it's more than 2 lots, we need, this is kind of a consent action to combine 3 lots. And Mr. Anderson, you're welcome to speak to that.
That's basically, initially thought we were gonna combine 2, but then the owner of all 3 lots wants to combine all 3, so he can better position his houses.
anybody have any questions?
I have a question. I'm familiar with declarations for a lot of developments that are large. And I've questioned other people opposite way. I'll not complying with the declarant. And I don't have knowledge of everything in the declarations for Tennessee National. Have you checked to see that there's no restriction because of combining 3 lots as opposed to 2? Or do you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, there's no restriction or
I'm not aware of, that wasn't really part of what we were doing.
I would make a motion that we approve this with the applicant checking that he's not restricted from doing that by the declarant.
I have a motion from
Good
Mr.
word.
Pinkel, do I have a second?
A second.
I have a second. Any, motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Somebody.
Motion passes.
3 of them.
Now I have a nosy question. Are you gonna have to pay 3, is the owner gonna have to pay 3 HOA fees?
That's why I raised the question, because you may find that even though we don't have a problem with it, if it's there, that needs to be checked out.
Because that did happen in Tellico Village.
All in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is application 142, final plat Tennessee National, block 15B, applicant Tyler Gross, large design, property owner Tennessee National LLC, tax map 23, parcel 1, land development district.
Good afternoon. My name's Tyler Gross. I'm with Large Design Solutions. Thank you all for your time today to review this. We've got a final plat here for Pod 15B at Tennessee National Development. This plat has 32 lots with an average lot size of just under 1.2 acres. And then we've got all the setback requirements of 25-foot front yard, 20-foot rear yard, and 7.5-foot side yard setbacks are all complied with. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
There must be something about the terrain that makes those 3 lots have such huge backyards.
Yeah, there is. There's pretty significant slopes and some great change off the back.
And this is the final plat.
No complaints.
Correct. Yep.
Any questions? Any questions from up here? Do I have a motion to approve or
I'll
deny?
make a motion to approve that.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Turn the page.
Okay. The next item is site plan review, 124 Holt Drive, applicant and property owner Jacob Gurley, tax map 40, parcel 124, R1, low density residential, approximately 0.92 acres. Staff?
Yes, ma'am, our recommendation, excuse me, I'm sorry. This is on Holt Drive. It's across from the Lions Club Pavilion. Let me try to pull up a picture here. It's a relatively simple site plan. A little difficult to see on the screen up here, but I think you can see a little bit on the one on the column there. But this is slab on grade concrete construction for 4 townhome units that share walls. I'm going to try to pull up architectural rendering here in a minute, but as you can see here, it's just a rectangular foundation with a sidewalk in front and parking that meets the requirements for this type of use. Driveway connection on Holt Drive. Let me pull up this. Forgive me while I hunt and peck for this.
This is where you make me do.
Right. Should be I'm not seeing what I added before, but you know the place.
Just click that, and I think you pull up the
Yeah.
plans, it'll show up.
Which this one?
Is that property at the end of Holt Drive where it comes out
Yes, sir.
onto 72 there, that you're talking about?
Yeah, what I try to do is pull out.
Try to refresh me what I'm thinking
That
about.
plan, can I put the plan set
That's what I thought.
at the bottom?
These are the site plans that we received.
I was wanting to,
Put in, is it 4 units?
It's 4 units.
4
4
units.
units,
I can
4
print-
small units, or what size?
the architectural elevations aren't a requirement of this application for your site plan review. We were just trying to provide those as some additional information, but what's before you meets requirements for grades, drainage, driveway connections, and the parking. So forgive me for not being able to show you what we intended to,
Okay.
but
Thank you.
I just want to refresh what I think it's supposed to be there.
yeah, I would be happy to pull that, like a satellite image up, if that's helpful. We could pull up some
Yeah,
Google
I
Maps.
picture my mom always had, so
Yes, sir.
I know.
Kind of behind the church.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve or deny?
I'll make a motion, we approve this.
Okay, I have a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a second. Have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Any additional public comment? Okay, anybody up here have anything? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay.
Is there one more on the back page? No, for
No.
the weed hour,
For what?
weed hour residents.
That's busy.
That's
That'll be
easy, guys.
the next meeting.
All right.
That's okay.
Early.
That's okay.
So sorry about that. That's all right.
Okay, I'm gonna call the Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Need a roll call, please?
Debbie Hines,
Here.
Kelly Brewster, Kevin Bookout.
Here.
Pam Carey,
Here.
Tim Dixon,
Here.
Tim Henley,
Here.
Dennis Brennan,
Here.
David Mears,
Here.
Clayton Pangle,
Here.
and Scott Wilson.
Do I have a motion to approve the September minutes?
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Old business, we don't even need to do that one, do we?
Jim's got something to say.
Okay,
This logically should have come first. It just happened. you had to have action by two bodies, planning commission, board of zoning appeals. There's no reason why you can't go ahead and deal with this if you choose to, because this was a condition of the staff's recommendation with the planning commission action.
Okay, so should we go ahead and talk about it?
It's up to you. I don't know of anything that prohibits it. I think you can go ahead and discuss and take action on the variance because it's not dependent on the site plan action. That's still hanging out there to be dealt with.
Okay.
You're hearing from a planner no longer, but that's my opinion.
I have a planning question, because I know this has come up, some years in the past. When something like this happens for future reference, that the variance has so much weight, is it appropriate in those circumstances to temporarily adjourn your planning meeting and convene your Board of Zoning Appeals, vote on that one item, adjourn that meeting and go back? Because that, like you said, it follows a logical sequence.
You're asking me a parliamentary procedure question.
That's right.
And I'm not an expert in parliamentary procedure, but the logic of that, what you just said, makes sense to me.
It does, me too.
I think we've done that at some point.
I know it, not anybody that I remember on this panel, that this is a memory I had from the past, that was a way to put it in proper sequence, without violating, but I don't know whether it's right or not.
Well, I think the issue before you right this minute is, do you go ahead and consider this and take action on it or not? And my perspective is, I don't see any reason why you can't consider this action.
Okay, well, let's do it. Thank you. So application 128, variance request to waive 300-foot distance requirements for automobile wrecking, junk, and salvage yards from residential district from eastern property boundary, rear of lot, Highway 11, 3827 Lee Highway West, applicant Jack Claus, property owner Dennis and Chastity Hackman, tax map 48, parcel 98, zone M1, light industrial. And it's my understanding it's the part against the right of way.
Yeah, so it's, if we were to go 300, we're asking them, they're asking to waive the requirement of being 300 feet from this property line to this point here. So this, the 300 feet is here within the property. And the request is to waive that requirement on that side, but meet it on this side.
And this is basically just the staff on the flag to go back to the lot back there. And you said it's mostly unbuildable?
Yeah.
And the other lot has access from Grimes Road?
And Georgia Street.
And George, it has two other, the piece of property this goes back to has two other accesses back there. They would never use that to get to that piece of property that's back there. Correct?
It's impractical. It's a very, very long, probably cost prohibitive. It's, as you said, it's like a flag lot. So that's the flag pole, and the flag is hanging over off the screen there. But in that little strip of land, you could maybe get a really long driveway, but you couldn't build a house on it.
So I just,
Jack?
my name's on there, just, if there's any questions, I can try to answer. The variance though we're not asking for a variance from the residential component. That, just make that clear, that 300
Right, the flag
foot
lot.
is still there.
Right,
So
this
we're only
is,
asking for the back lot.
that is residential, that one little strip.
Correct.
What's the one on the other side of the street?
This is county agricultural,
Correct.
C2,
C2?
A1, I think.
Okay, back here. How does that get accessed? From where?
Back in front of the co-op. There's a driveway at the co-op.
Oh, okay. So it's basically farming and commercial. Okay. Anybody have, what was staff approval? Had the other part been,
We,
or staff recommendation, sorry.
was to, hold the 300-foot buffer from the existing residential, but ask your approval for considering waiving it on the rear property.
So that way that buffers the residential as well as allows them to do business on the property.
Right.
And, in that you weren't, in other words, as a list of potential actions, your recommendation wasn't to have any, to make that waiver, was not to have any other conditions.
Correct.
Again, I asked a lot of questions before. I don't see that this does harm this part of the process to approve the variance. The issues that were stated on the other side had some unknowns to them.
Yeah, that's where my challenge is on the, earlier was the legal component. I just was not comfortable with. Here, you know, that has to be sorted out separately.
Yes.
If that gets sorted out, then to me, the variance that's being requested is logical. The other component is, it's separate. But to me, this variance is a logical variance. Tim, what do you think?
Same thing.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance.
Variance.
The request from the councilman was wanted to delay action until it could be given more clarity. We've already, that's already been done on that aspect.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Scott? Kevin? I have a motion and a second to approve the variance for this property. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes to approve the variance. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that, I like that because it pushes it to the legal aspect, which is really where it needs to be. So,
Totally different.
I appreciate you bringing that up,
Totally
thank
different,
you.
Thank you.
Or whoever brought it up.
Mr. Spencer?
I'll add this, the city is still dealing with another issue like this, and both of them are because of unclear actions. So, it's not our purpose to work things out that weren't clear.
Okay, thank you.
Do we need to go back to the regular planning commission?
No,
No.
because that one died. Okay, new business, application 132, variance request, reduction of setbacks on Hackberry Street to dimensions shown in plan, 103 Church Street, applicant and property owner John Mark and Leanne Wisham, tax map 41B, Group B, parcel 14, R1, low density residential. Staff?
Yeah, sure. This is a variance. There's an existing portion of this building. This is at the corner of Church and Hackberry. So this kind of L-shaped portion here, where the arrow is shown, is already there. And so the existing distance from the building face to the right of way, or I'm sorry, the property line is 4.9 feet there. It varies a little bit down to 4.7 feet on this side. So the request is to add an addition to the house and allow the variance of this setback on this side
So a continuation of that
building face.
building structure. Is that
Y'all's recommendation?
is that recommendation?
Recommendation is to approve without any other conditions.
Do we have a motion?
So moved, I move that it be.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
John, maybe we need to clarify just for the minutes, and maybe it's too late to do that, but, I mean, to me, it's a logical use of the property. And we're not just stepping in it, there is some logic in what we're thinking about here.
Agreed. Okay, next item, application 134, variance request to decrease 25-foot building setback to distances shown in plan, 335 Lighthouse Boulevard. Applicant and property owner, Nathan Ladle, tax map 32A, Group A, Parcel 4, R2 Residential District. And this is on a curve, right?
Yes.
Staff?
Yes, this is, the request that was submitted is to decrease the 25 feet to what's shown here. This is an existing neighborhood. We look to the board to make a decision as to whether or not this is in keeping with what's been done elsewhere, or if this warrants that setback.
And the setback, particularly in this situation, you got 22, the front, I think it says that the front needs to be 25 feet, the setback's 25 feet, is 22 feet here. So there's a 3-foot variance on that. I think on the sides, even it's a different road, and so in that situation, I believe the setback on the side was like 15 feet.
No, it's 25.
Is it 25 on that? In pulling up the HOA documents, or actually, some documents I had pulled up, I thought it said it was a different, the side was 15, which obviously you know better than I do, and 25 on the front, which, and there's a lot of variances in this subdivision for sure, because of the lot sizes.
So this is both considered front yard, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How does this align with the other homes on that street? Is it nosed out way far beyond the others, or?
We looked at that, I remember it was not.
It's real similar. I mean, it's not. There is some differences, but it's very similar.
On the order of feet, if I remember. And that was kind of measuring, we don't have, surveys of all of these other properties, but just in looking at some satellite GIS mapping.
So for something like this, is there a sign that goes in the yard to where the neighbors are aware that this is being requested to, later this week, are we all gonna get a call from the next door neighbor that's like, what
Is
the
there
hell
a
were you
variance sign
thinking?
posted?
Or, I'm just trying to understand.
Should be. We've lost so many, I don't know which ones are there and which ones are not no more.
Do you know?
We've got a sign thief. I don't know where
Yeah,
they're going.
no, we don't have a sign at this time, but I mean, we can definitely put a sign.
Have you talked to, is there a house next door?
Yeah, there's a house to the left, and I don't think I believe that's the variance is within line, because it's 10 foot off the property line against the house, so there's not even an issue on that side. I mean, it's just particularly the front and then the wide, on the right side, which would be a road, a street, and then a house across the street for that.
Staff recommendation?
We're looking to the board to determine if it's appropriate. We do feel like that this exists in the remainder of the neighborhood.
Okay.
So
I know we've had many of these that we
Yeah.
have approved with a variance. I'm just,
Yeah.
because this has all been laid out.
Do I have a motion to approve or deny?
I make a motion we approve.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank
Next is application 135, variance request, 6-inch variance needed to meet zoning setback requirement.
Oh my.
407 Coffee Lane, applicant Angelica Gonzalez, property owner Martin Cortez Cuevas, tax map 33J, group A, parcel 32, zone R1, single family residential. Anybody here for the, okay,
This is an enforcement action. We found that they were making an addition to a existing garage to convert it into residential space. Our regulations don't allow like a mother-in-law suite unless it's attached to the home.
okay.
So, we went out to look at, see if we could issue a permit for that. When we went to check the setbacks, there's about 6 inches shy on the rear setback of the lot to allow, because the garage would become a part of the house, it would need to meet setbacks for the district.
Okay.
It's about 6 inches shy on the rear, and, if you approve this, then we will issue building permit for the use and allow them to connect the garage to the house and finish the project.
And I assume that as part of this process, you would inspect the structure and verify that it does meet the requirements for, to be occupied. I'm
Yeah,
sure
and we
you all
did
do that.
preliminary, we've had some preliminary discussions. I think Anthony's talked to you about, there's some requirements for windows, and we've talked about smoke detection and all those things, and we're in position to begin or finalize the permitting process. It's just, they're short 6 inches. If it'd been right, we could approve it in-house, but because of that, it needs, your approval.
Do I have a motion to approve or deny?
I make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion in 2 seconds. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Just a question, if I may, just kind of ties to this, and not this property, but just in general. Do we have much of this where, in other words, do we need to somehow work to get word out there that, hey, you can't just in your backyard build a structure, a little house? Just,
Or attached.
and that's protection for our residents. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why that's there.
It happens from time to time. It's hard to hide,
Okay,
okay.
okay.
So we get calls or we
Okay.
catch them.
And
It's the
you're
thing
on-
about it is like, can't be everywhere, so it could happen and we wouldn't recognize it, but, I feel like we've got a hold on it, I guess. And, anytime you talk to somebody, just if someone's considering building in the city, just give us a call. We're open to talk to people and we wanna help. So, if you talk to people in the community, tell them, give us a call.
I'm sure some days your job's a little challenging, so we appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir, at times.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, application 140, variance request. Correction, reduction of front yard setback from 25 foot to 20 foot.
Yeah, that was for, I believe on the actual agenda, it says a variance to 5 feet. Just
Oh,
wanted to make it clear that it's a shift of the front setback from 25 to 20.
It's a 5-foot setback variance.
Yes,
From 25 to 20, 583 Indian Cave Drive. Applicant and property owner, Michael Wiedauer.
That's my homeowner, future homeowner.
And tax map 23N, Group D, parcel 13, Land Development District.
This
15 currently
Renee,
exists.
go ahead, you want, somebody talk.
They purchased the property to build a home, and it looked like, as you're seeing there, when I had my surveyors go to do the plot to put it on the house, to put the house on the property, there's a golf cart path, that's 5 feet into their backyard. I don't know if you can I can show you this. If you're allowed.
So it's easier to do a 6-foot variance than to make them move the golf
Oh,
cart
right.
path,
Yeah,
Oh, my
so
or 6-inch
my
variance.
homeowners were unaware until I had my
God.
surveyors look at it.
They own the golf cart.
Yeah.
Yes. Told them they could put a drive-through window there and just sell beer. That'd be a different permit, I'm sure, but they worked with Mike Badgett at Tennessee National. Mike said he would be willing to let them scoot the house forward. It's kind of towards the cul-de-sac, so that the house at 15R is a little bit shifted around to where their house is gonna be, so, and there's nobody in 12. So they
Tennessee
kind
National is kind of it's different than most of the city. We have a minimum setback, we do, but they also have a minimum setback, and most of the time it's greater than our minimum. So they have a little bit of a window in most situations to give variance internally. With using their subdivision regulations, for lack of a better term, to do it. This circumstance, they run into our minimum. Our minimum requires the 25 feet, and as such, we need you guys to approve that 5 feet. Tennessee National communicated with us, and they are in favor of this, and for all the reasons you probably suspect. And our recommendation is to approve it, because it's not in fitting with the master plan of the community, and it would be helpful to everybody involved.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the application 140
Make a
variance?
motion, we approve.
Have a motion to approve? Have a second?
Second.
I have a second, and I have a motion and a second. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank y'all.
Public comment on any variances, BZA? Any comments from up here? Dennis or Clayton?
What are you implying?
Troublemaker.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Have a motion? I have a second? We're adjourned.
So I just heard.
Thank you. What?
I can turn it out.